Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. And I want to first say thank you, and if we can have a round of applause for our incredible host this evening. Truly. For Ali and Imran, for their families, for all those who were shouted out here this evening to make this possible. It's a testament of work, of belief, and of a willingness to continue to fight for that which we know we deserve. And as they have both said, I've had the pleasure of knowing them far longer than I've been a candidate for mayor of New York City. I came to this very home with Congressman Bowman not that long ago, as we were running for re-election to our seats then. And I have found in this home and in this community a willingness to believe, a willingness to support, a willingness to create a campaign that would do things that we were told were never possible. And I say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it has meant the world to be able to call upon you when we need you for our campaign, when we need you for Ramzan to deliver groceries in Astoria, when we need you to help make this world that little bit better. And you have always been there. So please join me in a round of applause for these incredible hosts. This week, I have been leading a 5-borough tour against President Trump's vision that attacks the very fabric of New York City. Each day I've gone to a different borough, and 2 days ago I went to Staten Island. And I was walking into Istanbul Bay restaurant, inside of which there were more than 100 Staten Islanders, many of whom were immigrants, ecstatic at the possibility of being seen for who they were, for the struggles they lived through. But in order for me to get to them, I had to walk through a number of New Yorkers who were yelling at me. They were shouting at me. They were telling me to go back to where I came from. They were telling me that I would never be a New Yorker, that I would never belong here. And I share this with you because I know that there are many here this evening who have heard similar things said to them. And I hear this again and again, and in part it is the burden of being a candidate who could become the first Muslim mayor of New York City. But as you cheer, we know that this is not only a burden, it is also a question. What does it mean to be the first Muslim mayor? I am asked this every day, every interview. And I remark upon what my Dada and Dadi, Yusuf and Kulsum, taught me when I was a young child, of what it meant to be a good Muslim, meant to be a good person, to help those in need and harm no one. And I was thinking about this the other day as I walked with my wife Rama through Astoria Park. And as we were walking through the parking lot towards the soccer field, I heard the sound of chappals running behind me. They were picking up speed. And I looked back, there was a young girl in a hijab, couldn't have been older than 6. And Mr. Zohran, Mr. Zohran, will you take a photo? I said, yes. She turned around, she said, Mama, he'll wait. And then her sister came, and her sister came, and her sister came, and then their mother came. And we took this photo together. And I looked into the eyes of that young girl as she looked at me. And I was reminded as to what the vision is for our city. A vision where that young Muslim girl could grow up to be anything she wanted in the city that she called home. A vision of a city where we all belonged. A city that we could all afford. And that has been the vision that has been driving this campaign. And it is a vision that has been popular. Because when we began this campaign, we were polling at 1%. And that is being charitable, I'm rounding up. And I would have meeting after meeting at Kahwa House on 31st Street. and I would tell people about my vision of the campaign we could build. It's actually where I sat with Congressman Bowman as we talked about this campaign. And what we built is a campaign that went from 1% to winning this race by 13 points. We received the most votes in New York City primary history. And we did these things not because people saw themselves in me, but they saw themselves in our campaign. They saw themselves in our policies. They saw themselves in our commitments to make the most expensive city in the United States affordable. Whether it pertained to rent, whether it pertained to the bus, whether it pertained to universal childcare, they could see their struggles. And what they also saw was a desire for a politics of consistency. One that spoke about freedom and justice and safety, and said that it must apply to all people with no exceptions, and that extends to Palestine. And yet it is tempting, now that we have won this primary race, to act as if now is but a moment for celebration. Now is but a time to commemorate all that we did. And yet we know, like any good watcher of a cricket match, that the game is not over until the final over is done. And with 12 weeks to go, we have another race in front of us. A race for the general election. A race that will bring us up close to those that are threatened by our vision for the city. Whether they be Andrew Cuomo, who has still yet to learn to pronounce my last name, or they be the billionaires that put Donald Trump in the White House, like Bill Ackman, or they be Donald Trump himself, who has looked upon our victory and been so threatened that he has said that he's considering deporting me, denaturalizing me, arresting me. And he says these things because he knows that while he spent an entire campaign running on the premise of helping working people, we actually will deliver on that. And so these next 12 weeks will bring us up close to more money being spent against us than the 30 million we survived in the primary. More opposition against us, the likes of which we saw with mailers that artificially extended my beard, that quoted Leviticus as it told New Yorkers that electing me would harm the safety of Jewish New Yorkers, that sought to demonize me, smear me, slander me. We will see more of this, and we will see, to be blunt, racism, the likes of which we haven't yet encountered in this race. And yet we know that the function of racism, to quote Toni Morrison, is ultimately distraction. It is to distract us from the work that we have to do. And so what gives me the confidence, the faith in this moment is that there is no amount of distraction, no amount of dark money that can defeat what we have assembled here. And I say that because we have already done this once before. And I say that because I have heard the stories of 18-year-olds who registered to vote for the first time and dragged their entire family to the polls. I have had many grandparents who told me that their grandchildren told them not to come home if they didn't vote for me. Moments where we have seen leadership exemplified by the youngest among us. And I have felt moments with some that were here just at the 96th Street Mosque 2 Jummahs ago, where I asked the brothers and sisters there to raise their hand if they too had had to deal with the indignity of having their name mispronounced again and again and again in their own workplace. And I saw hand after hand after hand shoot up. And what I realized in that moment is that what we are fighting for, it represents so much more than just one candidate, one person. It is the chance for all of us to finally win the equality, the respect that we have long deserved and yet long been denied. And so what I thank each and every one of you for coming tonight, for being a part of this moment and this movement is an opportunity to not only win the New York City that we know that we deserve, but to also tell the world that Muslims don't just belong in New York City. We belong in City Hall as well. Thank you so much.